I'll end by saying that for me, I believe in the human potential from cradle to grave, and that I think your best role model is your own imagination. If I was looking to see something external before I would do it, then I wouldn't be on this couch today, because I wouldn't have done anything that I did. I didn't have role models back then.
Yes.
Ever wonder what it takes to unlock true Black innovation and wealth creation? You're in the right place.
This is From Chains to Links, where the brightest Black minds, entrepreneurs, academics, creatives, and futurists reimagine what it means to build generational wealth and a thriving Black community.
We're not just talking about change, we're building it. Stick around because this conversation is about to spark something different. Hey everybody, welcome back to From Chains to Links. I am your co-host, Kelly Burton, and I am here with the phenomenal Ifeoma Ike. Hey girl.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good.
We're feeling good, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's been a great couple of days. We launched something kind of huge.
Yes.
Over the last couple of days called Declaration 26.
Declaration 26.
Everyone should head over to blackinnovationalliance.com and check that out.
Yes.
I know you're proud of that.
I'm so proud of it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of our team because what we've been able to put out in the world is significant. We were talking about the fact that there's been a whole lot of anger and frustration around Project 2025,
Rightfully
but no clapback.
Right.
You know,
Right.
No counter plan, no counter vision for future American economy. And that's what Declaration 26 offers.
Yeah.
So we're really proud of it. It offers a vision for an American future that's inclusive and not exclusionary, that's forward thinking and not backward. And so it's like, let's go, right?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And thank you for pushing our team with consent to make that.
Is that what you call it?
Our guests are here.
I'm going to use that. She called it hazing. That's what she called it, hazing.
Uh-oh.
We didn't use those words
Pushing with consent.
in
I
public.
love that. Pushing
But
with consent.
Pushing with consent.
Okay.
Because you know what?
Yes.
Oftentimes with innovation, we're afraid to say that, you know a leader by people, a leader by followers. Sure. And I don't have a problem saying that, Kelly, I follow your lead.
Aww.
And you put this out there because not only that it was timely, but because it was necessary. And we're excited that our guests have even said that they've come across it. We just launched it yesterday.
Yes.
So we're excited that people are excited to talk positively about what the future could look like, not reflect on what's always here, which is negativity.
Yes. And that's why I'm so excited about our guests.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about the future Black economy, the future of Black folks in this country, there are a few people who are better equipped to navigate us through that conversation. So welcome, Jaret and Tiffany. Thank you so much for coming to From Chains to Links.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. So we're so excited about this conversation, but we want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself, just provide our viewers some high-level understanding of your background. And it's so hard for both of you because you have such amazing backstories. But Tiffany, I'll let you go first. Tiffany Norwood.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Tiffany Norwood. I am a proud Black woman from a career in innovation space. I've been a serial tech entrepreneur. I started coding in the 70s, licensed my first computer software in the early 90s. All in all, I've done 9 startups, predominantly tech startups over those 37 years, spanning about 60 countries. And they include from the first satellite radio, of which XM Radio, that startup was our North American radio. And I'd like to say, as a Black woman, I raised the money for that startup, nearly $1 billion back in the 90s. Wow. One of my startups include Next Generation Broadband in the early 2000s. And we developed all the technology to automate digital phone and broadband internet activation so they could go to Best Buy or wherever and buy cable modems versus needing a tech coming to your house. And then currently I have 3 startups, one Tibetan, which is in the ed tech innovation space. We do edutainment with 2 of our major projects right now being Sexy Black Genius, which is a live theater.
It's amazing.
Well, it's the truth, right?
Yes.
Sexy, Black, and Genius.
Yes.
Which is a live theater show that debuted at the Candy Center earlier this year, sold out. We'll be coming back to the Candy Center next year, and we also are going to be trying to bring it to the Apollo Theater as well.
Wow.
So what this is unhidden figure,
Listen.
right? Like, she ain't hidden. She's like,
Listen.
I'm here,
Yeah.
and that is
Pixie dust.
yes.
Thank you.
can't
All the
even.
way
I
around.
can't even.
Thank
You and I
you.
had an opportunity to have lunch a few months ago, and I was just in awe.
Oh, thank
of your
you.
story, and just in awe. Thank
I
you.
hope you took notes on
Yes.
how to fight too, because
Oh yeah, you know,
the fight will always be there.
I'm always down.
You know somebody can fight when they say fight with a smile, and they just
I've had decades of practice.
Yeah.
You know, I always say the German Shepherd does not go around barking all the time. It's like they'll bite when they need to. But otherwise, they're relatively chill. Because my first dog was a German Shepherd, you know. If you're confident in your bite, you don't need to be barking.
come on.
You know, folks don't play with Tiffany. That's the
Well, they
takeaway.
do, but then
Yeah.
they find out.
And then they find.
With a smile.
I love it.
Love it.
Jaret.
So I'm Jaret Riddick, and I am currently a senior fellow at the Center for Security and Emerging Technology here in the city at Georgetown. Before I start, though, it's 9/11, and you know it's really sort of a day where we all remember where we were. I just want to lift the name of. I graduated from Howard University in engineering back in the early 90s, and I have a classmate who was at work in the Pentagon on 9/11 and you know lost his life. And I just want to lift his name, Major Clifford Patterson. And so as we remember the day and all what happened and everything that proceeded from that and how things changed, I just want to lift his name because obviously we know we die twice. The day we die and the last time someone says our name. And so I just want to lift the name of Major Clifford L. Patterson. And oh my goodness, Black Innovation Alliance has released Declaration 26. I just want to really, you know, honor you guys because as you said, there's been so much conversation and yet has anyone taken a step to do something? And I remember when I first saw you, it was Black Tech Saturday during a conference and you held that at National Harbor. And I felt the energy and knew there was something. And I came to you and I said, how do I get into Black Innovation Alliance? And so I'm so honored to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting me. So as I said, I'm now serving as a senior fellow at the Georgetown Center for Security and Emerging Technology. This is a AI and national security think tank that is working on data-driven and evidence-backed recommendations for policymakers in the AI space. I've been at the think tank for about a year and a half. I'm there as a senior fellow. I was telling someone earlier when I was first approached, I didn't know what a senior fellow was, right? But I talked to a friend of mine and she said, well, there are not many Black folks who have that title. And that alone said to me, and she said, when a Black child hears your name and that title, their trajectory may change it. So that made me say, I have to pursue this and figure it out. The first time I saw you guys, you had Andre Perry on your panel, who's one of the most noted senior fellows at one of the most noted think tanks. I'm no Andre Perry, but I'm having a great time there at the think tank. They're doing amazing work. Just this summer, we had our internship program where we brought HBCU and MSI interns. Again, this is about training the next generation of technical policy experts and producing a lot of content, something that I'll discuss today.
Yes.
I want to just say what's wild about both of you, and I'm glad what you said about the little child, because I literally was sitting here like, what? When people say, which I hate this question now, what do you want to be when you grow up? Who says, I want to write a play called like, what is it? Big Sexy
Black Genius.
Sexy Black Genius.
Right.
And I want to
While
be,
raising $1 billion.
I want to build the platform for robotics. And I think it's important what we love about, having these interviews is like really like seeing how creative we've always been, but then like it's allowing this veil to kind of continue to be lifted for people that are listening to be like, oh, I didn't know I could do that, or I didn't know I could go that path. So I just want to thank both of you all, for the risks that you took to, pursue maybe what wasn't there before you started, and also the risk to endure. They say people I worked on the Hill for a smooth 2 years, and I felt like I was Rip Van Winkle. Like I was like, Lord. So, and they say like when you work in federal government, like every 6 months is a year. So when you say 20 years, like thank you for sustaining and for still, contributing to that field. So I just wanted to
there is a gospel song that says, I don't look like what I've been through.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
I just looked up and it was 20 years. And then people were saying, and I had always looked at the bios of people that I really admired in government, and they had been outside. And so, people said, oh, you can leave in 20 years and defer your return. There are all these nice federal rules you can take advantage of. And so I did that. And as far as the risk taking, the risk was my parents, right? My parents allowed me to, because I'm the middle child. So I was always kind of off on my own, and just allowing me to pursue things that we didn't have a blueprint for. We didn't know, some of these things were even, and my dad tells a great story about one time trying to teach me how to do something with my hands. And he said, are you going to just go to school for the rest of your life? And I said, yeah. And he said, and you did. So it's the risk taking is important, but giving people space to do that when we don't have a blueprint is something that it's not easy to do. But if we're successful, then we get people like Tiffany.
For sure.
Well, and also I say that we look at things more as, professional goals and careers. Whereas for me, starting on this tech path in the 70s, and I had a very unique journey because I was the first of a lot of things, but I was the only. And people, I've looked for others in my generation, starting in tech and doing, filing for my first patent in the 80s and being a successful Black female self-made tech entrepreneur. I was the only. People say that in the world, because I've been to 60 countries, all my startups have been global, that I was the first, and pretty much the only successful Black female tech entrepreneur of my generation starting then. I'm really happy to see that there's, a funnel now, as the investors and investment bankers will say. And I'm very hopeful for that future of seeing more and more women and more women of color being successful on this path, especially because we're talking about wealth generation. I'll end by saying that for me, I believe in the human potential from cradle to grave, and that I think your best role model is your own imagination. If I was looking to see something external before I would do it, then I wouldn't be on this couch today, because I wouldn't have done anything that I did. I didn't have role models back then.
Your best role model is your own imagination.
Yeah.
That is an amazing.
Because I feel that your imagination is how God prays to you. Other people will say it's unrealistic, which is my least favorite word, right? And for them, it would be unrealistic, raising $1 billion in your late 20s with, I might add, micro braids down the middle of my back.
Come on, bring the braids.
They would say that that's unrealistic, but for me, it was very realistic because God had put the vision in my head, and I almost knew step by step how to do it. It took me less than a year, Anyway, the moral of that story is, ladies, don't let people tell you how to wear your hair.
I know that's right.
People think the moral is the money, but no, it's you being your true self all the time and leaning into your power, even with your hair.
Wow.
So can you give us a little bit of perspective? Because today tech is cool. And being Black in tech is cool. But you both got into tech when it wasn't about being cool. It was something you were passionate about, right? So can you talk to us a little bit about the evolution of the Black experience within the tech space? What have been some of your big takeaways? Like, y'all have no idea how far we have come.
My same colleague who sent me Declaration 26, we've had a lot of conversations about this. And the initial one, I was meeting him for the first time. We were supposed to talk for 30 minutes. And 4 hours later, we were still in Panera, right? And the end of that conversation, we came with this sort of notion that we believe that technology can be a key to the unfinished business of civil rights. right? And when we really think about us as a generation, we stand on the shoulders of giants. The civil rights movement afforded us opportunities, and in those opportunities, many of us captured, technology as a path forward. And so now thinking about where we are in all this sort of the justice movements, whatever you want to speak to, technology can really play a role at changing the scale in how we think about these problems. But we've always been present. If you think back to sort of the industrial revolutions and how they rolled out. In the first industrial revolution, which is water and steam power, Black folks were in chattel slavery. Second industrial revolution, which is introducing electricity to manufacturing, at that time we were in Jim Crow. Third industrial revolution, computer age, civil rights movement. Now this fourth industrial revolution, which is really about internet, this is the first time we've really sort of been in a position where we have, at least on paper, free and fair, full participation in civil society. So it should mean something different. But if you look back in all those ages, we had inventors, we had, Garrett Morgan, we had the real McCoy, we had innovators in the computer age. And then we sit here with Tiffany. So we've had, evidence that in technology, we can be leaders, we can be inventors, founders, and discoverers. And now perhaps we can deal with scale, right? And so that it's not just, a breakthrough. I had that same experience, right? Of being always the only one never deterred me, but it was always, you're always the only one. And so now I think the difference can be that we can scale because there's democratization in the space of emerging technologies. Many of these are at ground zero where there is no declared leader, either regionally or domestically. And so there's so much opportunity now. And I think for having pioneers like Tiffany and others who have done the work, we now have a little bit of a roadmap and some blueprint, right? And so now in this fourth industrial revolution, and we're on the precipice of the fifth with the things we happen to see in AI, and the sixth will come very soon. I predict that'll be in emerging of bio and AI. We now have some blueprints, and so can we go at scale? And I think the growth opportunity in all of these emerging technology areas is in the underrepresented groups that have not been shepherds of technology before. And so here we are with a significant opportunity, with a significant pool of talent. And I think that dealing with scale will bring something very different in this industrial revolution that we didn't see in the past.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've lived the transformation because when I was born, Martin Luther King was still alive. I'm a product of the late 60s. I was the first of my family born with all my civil rights. I'll say for everyone, and especially the Black and Brown community, the opportunity is yours to seize, because in the beginning, just having resources like the computer or the access to the technology was so inaccessible that by nature, when something is a scarce resource, especially back in the 70s, we didn't have access to it. And so I remember, again, and this goes to following your passion and your calling, whatever that may be. When I was a kid, I knew I was supposed to be in tech, and tech wasn't even really a big thing for regular people. And I just had the imagination with it. My parents had yet to get me a laptop, so I started with book, paper, and pencil, teaching myself to code, because you only need a computer to know if you're right, if you code, right? From that, as a self-taught coder, I was able to get into, and I matriculate to Cornell College of Engineering as an electrical engineering computer science major in 1985. So that in and of itself is so much opportunity for our community. I'll also say when I was there, a lot of people didn't want me there. Even with a university as open and inclusive as Cornell, there's always one or two people. So I used to come out of the engineering lab, and when I got back to my dorm room, my phone would start to ring. And when I'd pick it up, there would be like this silent breathing. And eventually, it didn't take long to make the connection. It was between me being in the engineering lab and that. So then I would have a friend escort me home, a fellow engineer, because, who knew where that would continue to go. Fast forward today, I'm actually back at school, and I'm back at Cornell Engineering. I'm getting my master's of engineering and systems engineering for many of the reasons why you said. And the experience that I'm having as a woman, as a person of color, the number of people that are there in not necessarily systems engineering, but just collectively at Cornell Engineering is phenomenal. The dean of Cornell Engineering is a Black man. You know, so that has been a tremendous amount of change. The fact that we have Black Innovation Alliance, that you exist, is a huge change because you can do anything with the we. The access to money, I met Luca, who was a guest on one of your other podcasts. Black VCs, you know, and all these young Black VCs, so that every stage of a startup, you have access to capital, and Black capital, female capital, because that's going to be how you raise more and more money. But I will say, just to give a shout out as well, that the first internet entrepreneur network solutions was a Black man. That we talk about Thomas Edison with inventing electricity, but it was a Black man, Lewis Latimer, that had invented the filament that would last for an extended period of time, and then also patented the manufacturing so that we could manufacture it on scale. There was Patricia Bath, who's one of my favorite innovators, and she, you know, patented and invented, and you know, she had also went to Howard University, laser cataract surgery, you know, and so she was a site activist inspired by Martin Luther King, and many people are able to see for extended period of time in their lives because of a Black woman. The list goes on and on. So I think one of the things that's different now is that there are enough of us in a variety of different roles in the ecosystem, from research to, you know, actual startups to compiling communities, that we can get these stories out and let the current and future generations know we've always been there. It's actually part of your birthright.
Sure. Amazing. Amazing.
So, you know, a lot of what we are really trying to figure out is how do we leverage innovation for wealth creation? We talk about the ways that wealth have been created in this country, and one of the things that I'm on my soapbox about these days, so we're still talking about housing as a means of wealth creation. And housing was a means of wealth creation if you bought your house in 1983. If you're buying a house today, you already have some measure of wealth when the average home price is $380,000, right? So it's all about getting in on the ground floor. That's how you build wealth. So when it comes to all this emergent technology, what is the ground floor that we should be paying attention to? Where's the real opportunity for us to leverage emergent technology and innovation to drive wealth creation?
So there is recently, the Defense Department awarded Howard University a $90 million IDIQ contract. Without going into what that is, this is the biggest sort of research-based contract that's been awarded to an HBCU. And that contract is to establish a university-affiliated research center at Howard, which is actually a consortium of 9 HBCU universities. Now, a university-affiliated research center is a UARC. And this is an acronym that, you know, I mean, it's very important in DOD. There are about 14 UARCs. Several of them are very well known. Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, Georgia Tech Research Institute, Penn State ARL, Applied Research Laboratory, that do billions of dollars of business with DOD as an exclusive customer. And for years, you know, folks have sort of gone around and said, well, HBCUs should be involved. So to have this UARC now from the Air Force established with an HBCU is a huge thing. And I worked with the senior executives in the Pentagon to establish that. When Lloyd Austin came to Howard to announce it, that's how important it is. The Secretary of Defense came to Howard to announce this. He quoted Truman, and it was an amazing quote from Harry Truman, that he had said at Howard, Harry Truman speaking at a Howard commencement, that we need all of the talent in America. Truman said that 70 years ago, and it could be no more true today. And we have this real opportunity in the way that Tiffany was talking about it, really to pull this talent. And I've said this, I haven't written it, but I'm going to write this, that the growth opportunity for us in terms of talent is in these underrepresented populations that have not been stewards in advancing emerging technology. The National Science Board put out this great graphic, this Missing Millions graphic, where they just talk about 2030 demographic goals and the gap that's there. The people are there. The talent is there. The question is, are our systems capable of bringing this talent into the technology ecosystem in mass, right? We don't want to talk about one-offs and passion projects, but doing it in mass. And so, this is why part of the work that I'm doing now, I'm looking at place-based innovation policy, because the United States is spending $80 billion in this place-based innovation policy space. And when I say place-based innovation, this is really looking at innovation hubs. How do we place money in places to attract industry in certain areas? And we're spending this money. But as I've started to look at this, I said, well, here's an opportunity, because the narrative around place-based innovation is for left behind communities. Yes. It's about equity. Yes. And so I said, oh, here's an opportunity for us to think about how do we bring talent from these underrepresented communities through different pipelines. Rather than the K through 12 pipeline, it could be more locally rooted. We have all of these resources. But once I started looking at the literature, what I found is that these place-based innovation projects really have focused on land deals and real estate deals. I'm doing this research now with a student at CSET. His name is Hayes Meredith. I said I'd give him a shout out. Hayes, there's your shout out. But in the place-based innovation space, people have not thought about how this can connect to talent. And so what I'm looking at is now this talent gap is now a national security issue. Yep. Yes. Because we have competitors on the world stage who are producing more in number, yes, and who are determined to take over many of these emerging technology areas where there's not critical mass now. Yes. So where we have talent that's being left behind, we are losing in the strategic competition. Yes. And so it is of critical importance that we get this talent in any way that we can. And place-based innovation may present an opportunity to do this, but we just don't have the metrics. Yes. And so people are designing these things only around land and real estate deals. And I've been told by someone who's in this space, I just can't get my mind around how we do this successfully and bring the people in the legacy community along, which I found shocking.
You're going to love Declaration 26. It's all up in your lane.
I haven't read it yet.
It's all up in your business.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet. But the reason I'm doing the work is to support folks like you who are doing that. Yes. Right? Because what I found is that the data has not been collected. We don't have metrics and frameworks. So we can't have the discussion in a way that we need to. And I think there is such a critical national security issue here that to continue to have the divisive conversation around these diversity issues is actually, help aiding and abetting the enemy, if we want to say it that way. So I also have an op-ed that I did recently. It came out the day before July 4th about this diversity as a national security asset.
And we have, and I would love to hear, Tiffany, how you're looking at this for a lot of reasons, especially since by force, you have had to be a pioneer. Some people assume that when you're the only, you want it to be that way. But as you were speaking, Jaret, we have been talking a lot about the concept of security, right? What it means for us to, always push, for diversity, but also get underneath this diversity umbrella to let people know, no, this is the reason why diversity is connected to all of our well-being. Sure. So Tiffany, as you're thinking about this ground floor that is necessary to be created, I'm also interested in how you are thinking of the narratives, right? That also need to be translated in mass to the public around not just this is a good to have, or this is even within our own communities, right? Like when parents are trying to figure out how to support their kids and move along, what are the ways that you're thinking about both the tools, but also the narratives, the stories that also have to be told in mass?
Yeah. And so actually that's a lot of what my ed tech company, Tibetan, does. I had first founded it 10 years ago because people were very curious about my journey and story. And they were like, how did you do it? And being the good engineer, which I know Jared appreciates, we always have systems and algorithms. So I basically started publishing and speaking on my method, which I call the Tibetan method of mindsets and skill sets to bring imagination into reality. So the tagline of Tibetan is the science of turning imagination into reality. And we teach everyone of every age, as young as 10-year-olds, as old as 102. We've also started going into senior home facilities because, to your point, I believe in the human potential, and I believe that the best way to win, and actually it's not just a belief, it's evidence backed now, is the more diversity you have, the more you win.
Yeah.
The more diversity you have in innovation, in sports, in whatever. I came back from the Olympics a few weeks ago, you're going to win. Sometimes I even say, if the US did not get rid of slavery, would we be the country we are today? And the answer is no, because we can look at models like South Africa, which I went into during my satellite radio days to help Nelson Mandela in the 90s. You cannot be the top at anything if you're only pulling from a pool of one type of person or thing. It's just not possible. So to me, part of the success as a country and community is activating everyone on these innovator and entrepreneurial skill sets and considering it a literacy the way we do reading, writing, and math. Like, people didn't learn to read and write to be all to be Frederick Douglass or Emily Bronte or any of the other famous writers. It wasn't just about profession. It was about success in life, it's success as a country, success as a company. When I speak to fellow CEOs and they say, well, who do you think in our organization needs this type of literacy? And I was like, well, who in your organization needs to know how to read and write? It's that critical to the future, because in the future, the most successful people and companies will be those that can take ideas and start to bring them into reality. Everything else is being commoditized, including coding. So then we go back to Kelly's original question, which is effectively, where are the opportunities right now? And how should we be looking at that as a community? So I will say, and I understand this because I'm coming off of the civil rights movement and Jim Crow. Before, we were more conservative and playing a bit safe because it was survival mode. If we think about what survival mode is like now, back then it was even crazier. And to the gratitude of our parents and grandparents and stuff, we did survive, and our ancestors, we lived, right? And we succeeded. And even coming off of slavery, like that period of the Emancipation Proclamation, what we come from there were people in the same lifetime that were slaves and business owners, that were slaves and ran for office, that were slaves and sued their former slave owners. They didn't wait for us, future generations, to do that. So I ask us all to be that bold, right? And to be that creative and to take the leap of faith. Every success that I've had has been when there has been a disruption, either this, computers coming along and disrupting, then the internet coming along. I was one of the first on the internet because I was an engineering student, so we had access first, but that coming along and exploiting it. Then, the whole broadband and social aspects, exploiting that, digital media, exploiting that, and then the metaverse and that tech, exploiting that. And now artificial intelligence coming of age. Like, I licensed my first software related to artificial intelligence in 92, but now it's come of age. This is a time to be as bold as our ancestors were, who ran for office after being slaves for half of their lives, to step up and take a chance, because that's where we're going to win. That's also part of the entertaining message of Sexy Black Genius. And I think it's on us that have walked the path already, like the two of us, in a variety of different ways, to put the systems in place. Hence what you're doing with the research and the data and evidence-based, and with you all, I can't wait to read it, but to have this manifesto and this approach and algorithm. And it's up to the rest of us, as well, to make those steps. That's why I'm getting my master's in systems engineering, because I want to change the world. But I'm being smart about it. You have to have a system that stays behind for it to stick.
Beautiful. Thank you. So before Ify closes us out, tell us about your book.
Oh, yes. So speaking of innovation, so another First off, this is the poster for Sexy Black Genius. And I hope when it
Love
comes
it.
out again
love
in
it.
February, starting with Black History Month, people will come. Because right now our primary campaign and project is Vote Like a Boss.
Mm, mm.
Love it.
And actually, when you open it up, it's
Hey.
me as a
Oh, wow.
strong Black
Wow,
woman.
wow,
But I
wow.
want everything about to be disruptive. And for Vote Like a Boss, it's using Tibetan and the Tibetan method to be innovative how we get out the vote, and looking at as a mindset around self-worth and self-actualization, around being a winner, having a winner's mindset versus a loser mindset. It's about stepping on the field of play, as you will have to do if you want to be successful in anything, business, school, sports, life. It's about, do you take your own ideas seriously?
I love it.
Ooh.
If this episode ain't a commercial for that book, I don't know what
It should be.
I'm telling you.
And I really,
Vote.
man, I mean,
Yeah.
I really hope people actually get it, right? The relational organizing as a term has been, it kind of got exploited, it kind of got taken out away even from its origin, which was like with us. And what I hear from you is that people often see relational organizing and limit it to our very like loyal but limited Black institutions like the church and, the barbershop and, the bus stop, all of which are where we're at. But when you're talking about skits and when you're talking about persuasion and when you're talking about, there are tactics that we use every day to get our vote and our voice outside of elections, right? And so it reminds me of, there's just so much that's going. I know Kelly has a lot of different thoughts around why democracy works and doesn't work. Our team way back in the day, before we were Pink Cornrows, we started as like Black and Brown people vote, which was like just concept of like, the outcome isn't a person. The outcome is like, there's always something to net and there is something for us and for you, right? And so the fact that as an engineer with a systems mindset, algorithmic, like allowing people to see themselves, that like what you do is enough to get what we deserve is really powerful. So in the concept, and to conclude on this, in the spirit of deservedness, we are building and we are moving in this force as BIA with this birthright of innovation, right? We have the right to innovate. And if for people that are listening to this, you need to know both of them are moving their heads like bobblehead dolls when I said right to innovate. So want to just very, very quickly, like 60 seconds, like when you hear right to innovate, what made you shake your head so vigorously? What does that mean for us, right? When we say right to innovate?
Well, part of the work that I'm doing is to sort of change the sentence from we need a diverse workforce that looks like America to we need a diverse workforce that mitigates susceptibility and great power competition with very capable near-peer adversaries.
Oh.
So everything that you're saying about what Black people have done, to me, I think is core to our success in the future against some very, very tremendous forces that are developing and are moving against us domestically, but more so they're moving against our neighbors in the global South, and they are Black and brown. They are South America, Latin America, where we see those forces at work, and tremendously at work on the continent of Africa.
For sure.
So we have work here to do to lead the change. And so the work that I'm doing now is premised on, the fact that vulnerable communities really create susceptibility in this great power competition. But can tech-based economic development mitigate that susceptibility and create more owners, founders, and discoverers in technology? And what do the metrics, measures, and mechanisms look like that allow us to be able to design in that way? And ultimately, it seems like conventional wisdom. If we have more technology, we'll be more. But I think we need to have measures so that we can really lead the policy discussion and show here is where we want to have impact. So when we're investing in the right places, in the right people, in the right structures to really bring these things about in the future.
Yeah. For me, the reason why I was nodding is that, I feel that right is beyond country. it's a God-given right, because effectively innovation is imagination taken seriously. And we all have the right to imagine. We imagined our freedom. We imagined, this brave new world that we live in as a country. Martin Luther King famously said, I have a dream, not I have a roadmap or a protocol or a plan, right? Like I have a dream. And as entrepreneurs and founders, it always starts in our imagination. It's like this thing that we can't let go of and we bring into reality. So we all have that right. We don't even have to say it. It just exists. We're always telling kids, stop daydreaming. I'm telling kids and adults, daydream, right? Daydream, do it. And it's more than about economy. Life and death is at stake because a cure of cancer exists in someone's imagination right now that we're not taking seriously.
Yeah.
Damn. Well.
Boom! Mic drop. Mic drop.
Don't drop the mic. It's good tech. You'll break it. A single snap will do it.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing.
Love it.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Thank y'all
both.
so much.
Thank you.
Woo. It was like church. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whew. Wow. So much from that. Thank y'all so much. Thank you to our guests for joining us in our conversation today from Chains to Links. Every episode, it leaves me so full, but so recommitted and determined to continue to drive these conversations and service and center these conversations that are all about how we leverage innovation in order to drive wealth creation and self-determination, economic independence, liberation in the Black community. So thank y'all for joining us. Next time we're going to get back into it, and we'll see you then. Thanks, everybody. Bye. Thanks for riding with us on today's journey. If this episode hit home, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend.
Visit FromChainsToLinks.com for more content and make sure to subscribe on our YouTube.
Follow us on Instagram at @BuildWithBIA, and let's keep this movement growing.
The road to true Black prosperity is built together, and we need you to do it.